Be like, hey, girl, you heard the plot of the new Predator movie? Hey, Stuvies. It's Stu, and welcome back to the Stuniverse. What we're going to be doing today is an episode of Stuvies where you guessed it, we talk about books. Here with my co-host, Joe Bailey Smith, who is also our trusty editor. And today we have Ryan Tidwell.
Yes.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Ryan.
I'm Ryan, from Macon, same as Joel.
Hell yeah.
Hung out a lot. Talked about a lot of movies.
Yes, sir.
And it's pretty much what I do most of the time when I'm not playing video games, watching movies.
Right. So what drew you to movies? Because I know for me, I was an only child in a neighborhood with no other kids. So to entertain myself, like I remember one of my first favorite movies was like Short Circuit, was a movie that my parents could not stand.
Number 5 is a lie.
Yes, because I watched it every single day, which probably explains my affinity for synthesizers over the years, is the soundtracks to those. And
Absolutely.
like I Need a Hero was in that one. But yeah, and like the Terminator, and then I got really into horror and comedy. Like we were talking about Ace Ventura earlier. So that was I collected VHS tapes growing up. Like I had probably close to 1,000 VHS tapes that over the years we've gotten rid of, but it was a massive collection.
Shit.
It was actually how I bonded with my grandparents, was they would take me to video stores, because believe it or not, there was a point in time when you could buy physical copies of media. And they would take me to all these stores to purchase these tapes, and I've developed a massive collection over the years. So, like, what started it for you? What started movies for you?
Same thing. Growing up, I grew up on the outskirts of Macon. I think Joel grew up.
Well, actually, I grew up in Douglasville.
Oh, you grew up in Douglasville.
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't move to Macon until my 10th grade year of high school. And then I lived there for 13 years. But I'd say more of my life happened in Macon than happened when I was a kid. But in Douglasville. But yeah, I'd say I'm from Macon. Douglasville's about 30 minutes south of here, closer to I-20.
All right. Well, anyway, I grew up on the outskirts, so I grew up pretty much nowhere near the city. Like there was maybe one other kid within a mile of me. So it's kind of just that thing where it's kind of like, I don't want to get tired of going out in the woods all day and building forts, and then
it's cold and hot outside.
I ran out of sticks.
Yeah, I just ran out of sticks. Have to wait till another storm comes and blows some more. So just pretty much nothing else to do. There's no internet back when I was there. So pretty much just started watching movies. Probably the same. I watched a couple particular movies over and over and over and over and over.
What were those for
Major
you?
Pain.
Major Pain was a good one.
Yes.
I actually get forward to that because I actually used to fall asleep to that movie.
Hello, Betty.
As well as a couple other ones.
I used that movie to prep for military school, so it was nothing like that at all. It was nothing like that.
But one was John Wayne's McClintock.
Never seen it.
Honestly, as a kid, I watched it all the way through. It was a typical Western. However, the kick-ass thing at the end was there was a giant mudslide and a fight. That was pretty dope because you just gonna see everybody, like an entire town, sliding down a 50-foot incline into a mud pit and then punching the shit out of each other.
Okay.
And I would watch that on repeat. I'd watch the movie, but I'd watch like the last 20 minutes like 40 times.
Right. There are a lot of action movies, like things like the Terminator. I watched exclusively for like the last scene of that is what I watched for, and I got really into Jackie Chan martial arts movies.
I love me some Jackie Chan movies,
yes.
man.
I had some of the old.
I grew up on those.
When you bought them, you could only find them used at not even Blockbusters, but obscure video stores like Hollywood Video,
right?
Which I think is actually in this area, somewhere it was at a point in this area where it had like the shitty pre-owned case with the weird feeling plastic on it, and it looked like somebody printed out the cover. Same with like Godzilla movies. So anything with like a lot of, I was a dude, so.
Funny thing about Jackie Chan is I actually loved Jackie Chan movies so much as a kid. Most people wanted to be like noble professions, like doctors or astronauts when they were a kid, I wanted to be Chinese because I thought I wanted to be Chinese so I could meet Jackie Chan.
Because that's the only way that's going to happen.
Like, as a 4-year-old, that's the only way. I used to try to dig the holes to China every day.
Oh, wow.
Like, every day, and then my parents would make me, cover it back up with dirt at the end of the day. But I did that for a long time, and I do have a question. If you had to, which one would you say is better? Rumble in the Bronx or First Strike?
Oh, First Strike.
First Strike.
First
Okay.
Strike.
First Strike.
Was that the one where he sang at the end?
He's actually a professionally recorded singer.
Yeah,
Jackie Chan has a recording
I
contract.
believe it was first because it was Second Strike that was real. No, it was Second Strike because that's hard to find. I remember I
don't even
wanted
remember
to
Second
because
Strike.
there was this thing you could do where you could buy movies that were on the shelf to rent at Blockbuster, and they had Second Strike, which I preferred more to the first one for whatever reason. And I remember getting really excited that he sang, and I called my aunt who had a answering machine, and I was like, Jackie Chan singing, and I recorded the whole song on her answering machine.
What's that song that's it's in The Watchmen when the comedian is getting killed at the beginning of the movie?
I just watched that the other day. And I can't recall.
Unforgettable.
Okay, yeah.
Jackie Chan does a version of that.
Oh, my darling, it's incredible. There's someone so unforgettable. Things that I am unforgettable too.
My dad got some promo CD from his radio station. They had done a charity benefit CD, and Jackie Chan was on there singing Unforgettable, and he's got a decent voice. I mean, it's weird hearing him sing in English because his English isn't as good as his Mandarin is, or I think it's Mandarin. I don't know.
I think he speaks both Mandarin and Cantonese.
Okay. So, but yeah, I remember hearing that. I was like, that's so weird. And then come to find out, he's actually he sells records in China. Like he's got charted hits.
He's like their David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he's the Chinese David Hasselhoff.
Jackie Hasselhoff.
He sung on the Chinese dub for Mulan.
Did he really?
Yes, I think he did. Whose song did he do? It was the guy's song.
Be a Man or
I want to say so.
Okay.
I just remember their videos of him singing it back when he was younger. Back when Jackie Chan Adventures came out.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan.
There's a lot of
that was my favorite cartoon.
There's a lot of interesting things with dubs and stuff like that. Like Ghibli movies where it's Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
Christian Bale is in it, and Billy Crystal
Oh wow.
plays like a little wad of fire. It's just interesting that and I'm curious now as to the voice acting in foreign, like what big, like, do you think Christoph Waltz?
I have this one.
Oh, really?
I have this one. So I just read this on Reddit yesterday. Danny DeVito did the Lorax, the Lorax film, and he dubbed over the Italian version, the German version. There was like all these other versions that Danny DeVito actually went and did the foreign language dub in his as the character. In for all these versions.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird because I know him and Mike Patton from Faith No More are really close. As a matter of fact.
Danny DeVito?
Yeah. There's an episode of they're his favorite band, and one of the later
Wow.
episodes of It's Always Sunny, it was like a day in the life of Frank, where it was first person perspective shot.
I remember.
Yeah, and when he's driving in the car, Digging the Grave by Faith No More, which is a more obscure song by them, is playing in his car.
What's that? Pondy. Ha ha. Let's party. Ha. Sorry, Pondy. Can't. All tits.
And Mike Patton is also a multilinguist, and they hang out a lot. Like, there was a festival years ago. Yeah, I think it was South by Southwest, where it's Danny DeVito and Mike Patton talking. So that's interesting. That's really...
That's weird. My first, back to take it to Jackie Chan real quick, I loved Rush Hour. Those films were, before I knew that they were Brett Ratner films, they were the pinnacle of filmmaking in
the guy
my...
played Ted and How I Met Your Mother? No, was that Josh Radnor?
No. Yeah,
Okay.
Brett Ratner directed the Rush Hour films. He did Tower Heist. He did X3, The Last Stand.
Oh,
Yeah,
that guy.
Exactly. So yeah, when you now you
Takes the magic out.
right, exactly. Which I was working in a movie theater when X3 came out, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Going back now and watching the first two movies and then seeing X-Men 3, X-Men 3 almost seems like a parody of the first two movies. Like the first two were very much like taking seriously, but they have a much more postmodern, like this, it's cool to make fun of this approach to X3. I don't know. It was a lot more kid-like, but
Man.
I like seeing Frasier in blue makeup.
Yeah, that's Kelsey Grammer and
Oh, yeah.
automatically sells me on it.
The thing that
Toss my
I
salad and
hated
scramble my egg.
the thing I hate about those movies is how they always shit on Cyclops constantly.
Oh
throughout
yeah.
all three of them.
They kill him off in the second one because he went and did Superman Returns.
A third one.
Well, a third one. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
Because like right at the first 5 seconds, I was like, finally, maybe we'll see Cyclops actually be something in
Right.
the movie, and then, oh, he's not dead. He'll come back.
They killed him off because Bryan Singer, who also directed Bohemian Rhapsody that just came out recently, Bryan Singer went to go make Superman Returns, and they got someone else to come on, and as kind of a fuck you to Bryan Singer and James Marsden, who played Cyclops, because he was Lois Lane's boyfriend in the Superman Returns movie, the one that you fall asleep in. Yeah.
Wait, that's the one with
Kevin Spacey is Lex Luthor.
Brandon Routh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I enjoyed.
That guy was...
He was okay.
He was okay. I loved him in everything else he's ever been in, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he was excellent.
Cameo when Zack and Miri make a porno. As
Oh,
Bobby Long.
yeah.
That was the
it was
greatest.
fucking amazing.
I forgot about that.
Shut your face or I'm gonna fuck
Fuck
it.
it. I'll be your
Is one of the
Sherpa.
best lines.
I'll be your Sherpa up the mountain of gayness.
Completely forgot about that.
He's like caressing his face.
God, I want to eat him up.
Save some for me. I don't know.
Like, yeah, that's great. So we all have a history of movies, and one thing that I've found myself kind of struggling with recently is on top of I got really into music, so I kind of fell off in more recent years, and also a lot of things that happened in my life at the same time kind of shot my attention span, so now it's hard to focus. And so I don't know if it's my attention span being completely shot or if it's the content, but there are some movies that I saw that came out this year that I did enjoy. I'm just curious because I know that on the episode of Stuvies, you had mentioned that you'd seen more movies this year than you liked music.
Right.
So I'm wanting to talk to you guys about the movies that you enjoyed of this year.
Okay. Well, I know one movie that came out like the very end of December 2017, so I'm gonna count it.
Okay.
Because
I'll allow it.
Just because it seemed boring. And the only reason I watched it was because of the cast. It was 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
It is fan fucking tastic.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah,
It is possibly my favorite movie of all time.
Coen Brothers, right? Or
No, not at all.
who directed it?
I don't remember. I think it was a first timer. I think it was. I can't remember if a woman directed it. I can't remember her name though. She either wrote it or she directed it.
I know the Coen Brothers did have a movie, The Ballad of Something.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs,
Yes.
which I really fucking enjoy.
Tom
on
Waits
Netflix.
is in that,
Yeah.
who I love.
Yeah. I really enjoy. You know, I'm sorry, real
you're
quick.
fine.
The Dudley Dursley from Harry Potter, cousin Dudley, is in that movie as a amputee, like a multiple amputee. He has no arms and no legs.
That's where that kid was from.
That's Dudley Dursley.
That kid's lost some weight.
Right. Well, he lost some arms and legs, and then Liam Neeson throws him into a frozen lake for a chicken that can add. It's
It's the bottom line. It's capitalism.
It's so sad. That's so depressing. But yeah, that was good.
But 3 billboards, man. I have never wanted to hate Sam Rockwell more.
Oh, is he a bad guy in that?
He's the biggest dick on the planet.
Really?
Like, he comes across that way. And then at the end, he has a somewhat great redemption arc, but that's probably like my favorite. I think he won an Oscar for it.
Really?
He was best supporting actor for that role with Woody Harrelson, because Woody Harrelson was in it. He's also fantastic. It's really hard because they're both in the same category for it. And it went to Sam Rockwell, but I was like, dude, I wish they could give him to both.
It's the same guy who did In Bruges with
I love that guy.
Same guy who did that and Seven Psychopaths.
Yes, both Sam Rockwell's in that. So is Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Weird 6 degrees of separation there.
Yeah, but anyway, I highly suggest you guys watch that movie. It's a slow build. Well, I mean, it starts off first of all, it's very intriguing. Woman takes out billboards. You're like, oh, what's happening?
Like
You
someone
find
got
out-
missing, right?
No, not exactly. I'm not gonna give it away.
No,
but
when you hear this sound, it's a spoiler. So we're going to talk about spoilers. We're going to edit that part in later, but
Okay.
you can
All
talk
right.
spoilers if you want to. We're totally done with it.
All right. Well, anyway, so basically, this girl's or this woman's daughter is raped and murdered, and after I want to say like 6 months to a year, and nothing's happened, she takes 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri. She buys them for a month, and just like, hey, Sheriff so and so, what's going on? Why do we have no answers? Stuff like that starts getting attention. Sheriff's is like, yada, yada, yada. This thing takes time. Nobody saw anything. It could have, most likely, is probably a drifter. And then, and Woody Harrelson is the sheriff. And it's kind of like, you kind of feel like the bureaucracy of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, what do you want him to do? It's like, there's nothing there. And he can't really do anything. It's not like, I mean, you feel sincere, but you also feel like he's not doing enough. But you don't hate Woody Harrelson like you hate Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell comes off as a dick throughout the entire thing.
Okay.
But absolutely fantastic. You guys should definitely check it out. It's a good 2 hours, 30 minutes.
Thinking about it now, I did see a trailer or a clip from that looks really good because the cinematography in that movie, where it's very, I guess I would equate the look of it, I believe, if I remember correctly, looking something akin to like The Place Beyond the Pines. Well, like aesthetically, maybe a little bit grainier, more like earthy. I think it has like a very Coen Brothers tone, but it looks
That's
really
why I
good.
thought. That's why I thought it was a Coen's film at
You are
first.
correct. It definitely does. It had a very
Like
was it
Fargo?
inside Llewyn Davis type feel to it.
Oh, okay.
And basically that it was, but it is very, very similar. And it is honestly, if I didn't know it wasn't a Coen Brothers movie, I would have thought it was a Coen Brothers movie. So it's very fucking.
You
good.
know what? Now that I think about it, I think it's the cinematographer. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think there is some connection with the cinematographer from the Coen Brothers for this film.
because the look very much, yeah.
That reminds me of another movie that I saw this year to tie back into Jackie Chan. Did either of y'all see The Foreigner?
Yes, I did.
I caught that on cable a few weeks ago. I was blown away by that.
I was surprised. I was definitely surprised.
Do you know about this film?
I've seen a trailer for it.
Jackie Chan plays an older man in America, he's in UK.
He is an American. Well, he's an American immigrant, but this entire film takes place in England and the UK
and in Ireland and stuff. Like
Yeah,
it
pretty
deals
sure
with
it's
the IRA.
Yeah.
There's an IRA bombing that kills his only daughter after his other 2 daughters had been killed while they were trying to get out of where like they were a war-torn area or something. So he lost his last daughter, but he's a ex-special forces operative, and so he goes up to was it Pierce Brosnan?
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan.
who was also really good. I hadn't seen anything Pierce Brosnan has been in for a long time. But I was like, you fucking
shoots that
smarmy
fucking guy.
Oh God,
I know. You just want to punch him in the face. But yeah, so he basically is trying to get answers about who killed his daughter and thinks that this guy knows, but this guy doesn't know. And then you kind of find out there's a lot of political stuff. Like I don't understand the whole IRA. I know that there was a North Ireland and a South Ireland. There's something that broke off at one point, and so the government is dealing with the IRA in a particular way.
Civil war.
A civil war. Right,
So
right.
IRA is basically, I don't want to equate them to the Taliban, but it's basically like a terrorist type organization. The car bombings, a lot of guerrilla warfare type stuff.
Okay. And so Jackie Chan basically takes on the IRA himself and goes out to their compound and is like hiding in the woods, like luring them out there and taking them out with like punji pit traps and stuff and all kinds of like Home Alone type shit.
So it's like Home Alone meets Taken.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, but I was blown away by it, and I love his
Seeing
serious
Jackie Chan
roles.
cry, it hurt.
Right?
It hurt.
Right? Absolutely. You're like this. You fucking up my homeboy right here. You know?
I love a good cry
Right.
in movies. If an actor can cry and sell me on that,
Right.
oh man, I love
Take
that.
my money.
Yeah, it's a cry all day for me.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds sociopathic.
I'm glad I remembered about that one because that
That's
was
a good one.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
that's a good catch.
Yeah.
What about you, Stubert?
Well, speaking of good crying, that's a good segue into a movie that I watched. Actually, I'm going to touch on this one first because it's the freshest in what I've watched. Let me check and see if it came out. It was
You want
either
me to look it up for you?
Yeah, it was either 2017 or 2018. Mother. the Darren Aronofsky movie.
That's right.
Which,
Oh, I have not seen it, but I've heard of it.
yeah,
I've heard that I've heard people say it's either really fucking good,
It's
or
polarizing.
or they fucking hate it.
Came out in 2017.
Okay, yeah, that's a movie of 2017, but man, it's before I talk about this. So have you just heard about it?
I mean,
Or-
I've seen it on I've seen trailers. I've seen
Okay.
seen it to where I could watch it. I just haven't been in the mood to watch
Are
it.
you okay with spoilers for this movie?
How spoilery?
Well, a movie with a plot like this, even if you spoil it, it's so intense and crazy. Because, okay, my view on I have an interesting view on spoilers in general. That is, if a movie is good enough, they can sit there and spoil the entire thing. But if it's good enough, I still want to go back and see exactly how everything unfolds.
Okay, so is it going to be a usual suspects type spoiler or no?
No, not
Okay,
like
so
not
it's
like,
not gonna be like
Honestly,
twist blow my mind type thing.
No.
Okay.
it's surreal. It's very much in the style of like David Lynch or those movies that if I tell you exactly what happens, you probably won't understand exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's surrealism.
it's so allegorical.
Well, you know what? Let's go ahead. But I'm gonna take one guess at what the spoiler is.
What is it?
She is the mother. Maury, can we get verification?
You are the mother.
It's actually her husband.
Spoiler alert.
Her husband is the mother. It's the big reveal at the end when
That's like a psycho reveal.
she is pregnant the entire hour and 45 minutes of this movie. She's pregnant and they're preparing for it. They're getting the bed ready. And then he was the guy who was in Skyfall.
Yeah, you're talking about
Daniel Craig.
No, Javier Bardem.
Yeah, Javier.
Ooh,
yeah,
that man.
He thinks his wife is pregnant, and at the end, he just shoots a baby out of his dick, and it's fucking crazy.
Does he really?
No, that's not what happened at all.
I was like, oh,
It
wow.
I don't remember reading that part in the spoilers.
It was a play on how the movie is called Mother, and she is with child. But
You're playing the long con here.
I was like, usually I have to wait 5. Like when somebody's like, hey, this is a spoiler, or if I come across one, I was like, I'm gonna wait a long time to actually watch this, so I forget about this until it's only.
I've done the same
reminiscent.
thing. Yes.
And then if I would have been fucking mad, I would have hunted you down. If I got to the end of the movie,
There's
it was
no
like,
baby coming out of his dick.
I was like, what is this?
Well,
Go for it, man.
okay, so a little bit of backstory about the way that this movie was made and written is it was written in a fever dream by Darren Aronofsky, who did Requiem for a Dream. He's done the movie Pi. He's done The Fountain, which is a wonderful movie.
I love that.
I love all of his. Black Swan is another one.
You just listed off a bunch of movies that people have been telling me to watch, and I just realized that the same guy has done these, and I haven't watched any
and
of them.
they're all very even. Maybe not so much Pi because it was a black and white shot in film, low budget movie.
So it's a comedy like Clerks.
No, it's not a comedy. It's about a mathematician who's going insane.
Oh, Pi?
Like
yeah.
Beautiful
Oh, I
Mind.
haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's really good, but even Requiem for a Dream, which was his second motion picture, is so beautifully and interestingly shot. That movie is about heroin addicts, and every time that they use it, there's interesting shots of the way that their body and physicality reacts to the drug, like their pupils dilating, and it's just. It's insane. The soundtracks are all done by a gentleman named Clint Mansell, who's
Oh,
a
yeah.
really good composer.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've seen anything dramatic on YouTube, you have heard this song. The Lux Eterna.
Yeah.
Is the big one.
How's it go? It goes dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun dun dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
yeah.
He did that with a string quartet called the Kronos Quartet, who actually do a bunch of really great Shostakovich works. Like they do the Waltz in C, which is my favorite, like Shostakovich classical. Not to go too off topic, but that's a it was written that piece of music was written during wartime, and he wrote certain parts of that directly after his family was killed, like the actual composer did.
Okay.
So it's very dramatic. Somebody mixed up the breakdown in Shattered Fortress by Dream Theater.
Neat.
With that part of that song. Faith No More sampled it in Malpractice.
Okay.
So it's interesting. It's dramatic, but the people who have played some of that stuff were on that and are on a lot of Clint Mansell stuff, but in the later years, even Black Swan, which I think was written in a conventional style without fever dreams,
Right.
was getting more surreal. And with age, he's
As it
becoming
goes, yeah.
the opposite of what normally happens of a director finding a more normal formula is happening with Aronofsky. I didn't see Noah because that seems a little too.
It's not even biblical. Like
Okay, that.
Or if you're super truther paranoid, it's very biblical. Like it would,
Okay.
depending on which way you look at it, it's either direct or it's like straight allegory. But giant rock monsters show up in Noah,
So
and
like Enoch type
Ooh,
stuff.
Yeah,
so
it's-
like
okay.
Red State,
no, well, there.
like where people's heads actually start fucking exploding.
No,
Okay.
which that's fucking crazy. I forgot you were such a big Kevin Smith fan.
Dude, did you ever see like the original ending if
Yes.
you could afford it?
Yes, with
Yeah.
the flaming
Fucking-
sword.
with
Yeah.
flaming, angels and flaming swords just decimating people. I was like, fuck it, I would have taken a cartoon Microsoft Word drawing of that.
Oh yeah,
Right, exactly.
Just have him read it on
Ooh, John
Smodcast, and I
Goodman
would
was so
fucking.
good on that.
Which brings me to another theme in apparently his last two movies, which is a religious theme
Oh yeah, this movie's heavily religious.
in a very weird way. I guess the biggest, it seems like surrealist nonsense. However, the biggest thing that, spoiler alert, there's the sound, is it's all a metaphor for God. Like, Jennifer Lawrence is basically the representation of God.
No,
Or,
Earth.
yes.
That's kind of, well, I've heard different interpretations, but
well, because of her with child, and
she's like Mother Earth, and Javier Bardem is supposed to be like God, kind of in a way.
well,
Okay.
Well, you
Yeah,
explain
I
it
could-
your way. I've heard it explained a ton of different ways, but how did you interpret
I
it?
could see either way. Well, her having the child like made me think that was, especially their relationship in the entire movie is extremely strange, and the way the movie starts is extremely strange. It starts off with it's just a couple in a house that it looks like they're renovating, and this man who is Ed Harris
Ooh,
shows up.
love it.
And you don't know why he's there, and there's some strange things going on. And the next day, his wife shows up, and it keeps getting more bizarre in terms of the way that the couple are acting.
It's like a house party getting out of control.
And the way her husband is acting about them being there too is extremely strange, because she's sort of telling them to, like, why are these people here? I think that they should leave. They tell at a point she tells them to leave. A bunch of weird surreal stuff happens in between there, and the last 45 minutes of the movie, I will spoil one factor about it because it's extremely controversial, and I wasn't expecting this. I don't mind disturbing things like Lars von Trier and movies like that.
Oh, that's the guy who did what was it?
Antichrist.
Nymphomaniac,
Nymphomaniacs,
Antichrist.
Yeah, I don't mind things like that. However, I was not prepared for.
He also played the pie in Too Many Cooks.
Yeah, it's there. So the baby is born in a very strange circumstance that I won't spoil because it's a part of the last 45 minutes of the movie that are so. It's a sensory overload more than anything. That so much was happening so quickly at the same time that it's a lot to take in. And by the time the baby is born, I am like exhausted from watching this because it's so much, so quick. And the baby is sacrificed, and the way it's shot is I don't even know how to. The sound, and it's so bizarre the way it's shot.
They eat the
and-
baby, don't they?
Yeah, but essentially the baby is being carried through a crowd of people, and Jennifer Lawrence is chasing her son. like screaming for the son, at which point you hear a snap. You hear the baby's neck snap. And the crying of the baby stops.
Oh my God.
And this goes back to the crying thing, where her performance in this entire scene and how everything unfolds for this, especially the last 15 minutes or so of the movie, is chilling. Like, her ability to portray distress and anger and sadness, I enjoyed her acting a lot, but this was such a good performance. But she goes through the crowd, and there is a ripped apart corpse of this baby that everybody around her is eating like it's the body of Christ, and they keep talking about it like it's Christ. They talk about this newborn child as if it's Christ. And from there, that's about all I want to reveal as to the ending. And there's little factors about
Spoiler alert.
Well, no, there is a lot of factors, and something kind of turns around full circle in the movie that it's definitely worth watching, especially because I don't even know where to begin in the way that it's a sensory overload. I don't know how to describe a lot of people, a lot of violence, a lot of things happening at once. It's just insane. But the movie looks beautiful, and there's a lot of neat special effects and just
Neat.
Yeah. Well, no,
There's a lot of pretty imagery amongst the baby corpse eating.
There is a scene where a light bulb fills up with blood, and the lighting when the light goes from yellow to red is really beautiful.
That's
and then
really
it
cool.
explodes. And just the way that the blood spatters on the wall is so... It's... I enjoy when movies display macabre imagery in very visually appealing ways. That's another thing I like about
Like the
Clark.
blood on like the blood on the cotton in Django Unchained.
It's very much like that. So it's not a movie that I can really spoil because there's so much happening that's so surreal.
You've definitely piqued my interest.
Yeah.
And I will probably try to watch that this week.
I will not be watching it because I don't like seeing babies get eaten.
The first 30 minutes, you're wondering why they're acting the way they are. You're like, this is a very strange way to act. Like, I would just tell these people to get the fuck out of my house. But the way it unfolds after that, you're like, holy shit. It's very intense.
And I think from what he described for his fever dream, he was talking about how it's mankind and like original sin is built in there, and how things were supposed to be a certain kind of way, but then man comes in and corrupts everything.
Oh,
and
good God. It definitely reflects that part.
Right.
Even before that, it's like some of the stuff that starts happening is so unbelievably outlandish. Like, it's outlandish beyond outlandish. And just the shots during that are so incredibly well done. It's so like chaotic, and it's so almost like dystopian imagery.
Okay.
And it's just bizarre, but I recommend it because I like that style of movie.
Yeah, that's one that just seems like it would be exhausting, like physically,
It is.
like emotionally, mentally exhausting.
Oh, it is in every sense. It like the scene with the baby did, especially because I wasn't expecting it, and it already physically exhausting. Like watching this chaos for that amount of time physically exhausted me. So when it showed the images with the baby, I was like about to cry just out of like, I admire the movie's ability to tap into that and drain you in that way is fascinating. The ability to create such an atmosphere in a movie like that is what I like about movies. It's like being more of like a stream of consciousness, where more opposed to paying attention to the beginning, the middle, and the end, you're wrapped into the feeling and what the emotions are of the characters and what's happening.
It's like a song, like a
Yeah.
really good
Yeah,
song.
that's what I equate surrealism to, is it taps into the actual emotion of the thing as opposed to the story of the thing. And it's just, I will say that it's a very interesting effect that movie does have, and especially the way it makes you think about everything post.
Right.
It's really intense.
I can definitely tell you I'm thinking about Chili's baby back ribs right now.
Barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce.
That'd be great if that entire movie was just a
big Chili's ad?
was a product placement for like Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
Or
I
something.
kind of want to edit that together now, like find the
Yeah.
clip and just edit like Chili's baby back.
The moment when she breaks through the crowd to reveal and edit in a Chili's logo where the baby's corpse is.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back,
Chili's baby back ribs.
I want my baby back,
Chili's baby back ribs.
barbecue sauce.
It's horrible. I'm just glad it's a movie and not a real thing. It's times like that I am glad I have a pretty good or don't have good suspension of disbelief. It's one of the same reasons I don't care for horror films that much.
Oh, see, I love that.
See, it's so hard for me as a movie analyzer or whatever to get like some thrillers. I enjoy thrillers, but there's some stuff that is just impossible for me to tap in if it's something that could never happen. Granted, I love superhero movies where a lot of that shit could never happen.
Are you trying to tell me Armageddon's not gonna happen? Like we're not gonna get a bunch of dudes to fly up on an asteroid?
Why would you get a bunch of air people or a bunch of drilling people like oil drillers to learn to be astronauts? Why wouldn't you just teach astronauts to
You don't
drill?
understand the complexities of drilling.
Okay, but
Or
Michael Bay even told Ben
being
Affleck to
overrated.
shut up about that. Like he mentioned that to him on set, and Michael Bay's like, "Shut up."
Have you heard about Ben Affleck talking shit about Armageddon in the commentary for Armageddon?
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's overrated. Armageddon's overrated. I'll say it.
Hey,
It's not bad, but
you know, it's not overrated. That Aerosmith song.
I know. Don't wanna close my eyes.
says every white girl at a party.
Hey, you want the panties wet? You pull out some Aerosmith. What is that? What is it? Don't want to miss a thing. You pull that song out.
Don't wanna close my eyes. I don't wanna fall asleep 'cause I miss you, baby. And I don't wanna miss a thing.
Woo! Dropping. Panties dropping because they're so wet they can't stay on anymore.
True.
Yeah,
Very true.
That's right. Ben Affleck
Speaking
and
of
Aerosmith.
Noah, that's another flood.
See, it all ties back together very intricately.
All our works are a metaphor for religion and mankind.
Chili's.
Titties.
Barbecue sauce.
All right, so I'm sure that you guys have watched more lighthearted, less fucked up movies that actually came out in 2018, not 2017. So
Oh, you want me to take off?
yeah,
Let me see here. Movie I watched. Okay, so one of the first ones I wanted to talk about is the movie Sorry to Bother You. Have you seen this movie? It's
Tell me
got
what it's about.
okay, so it's got the guy from Atlanta, not Donald Glover.
That's his
yes.
name.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I remember the movie. It's like a yellow background with a guy
Yes.
in like a purple suit or something.
Yes. So basically, this guy goes to apply for a job as a telemarketer. And he goes and gets the job, and it kind of seems like a standard, guy trying to make it on top type movie or whatever. And then the movie gets increasingly more bizarre as it goes. And you noticed little things that the camera work will do, or like there'll be a punch in on a specific thing, and you're like, why is that mattering as much? And spoiler alert. Oh, we're gonna talk spoilers on this. Yeah, hold on a second. Spoiler. There you go. So basically, in this movie, the movie takes place in an alternate Oakland, like an alternate history of Oakland, to where there is a company out there called Worry Free, which will take you and let you live there and work there at their location. They feed you and everything, and all your bills and stuff are taken care of for life. So basically slavery. And Congress is okay with it. There's people protesting it. There's activist groups that are against it and stuff, who are trying to talk about it. But it takes a lot of things that we deal with now and puts them through a lens of extremism, like us looking at something in the news cycle and being like, wow, that's really fucked up. Well, we can't do anything about it, so we're just going to accept it. And the movie makes a point as the movie goes on, and I'll get into a little bit more spoilers in here in a second, but as the movie goes on, you see more increasingly crazy things happen, and people are like, well, we can't do anything about it, so we're just going to accept it. And the government says it's okay, and there's not really a whole lot we can do, protesting this. But as it turns out, this guy starts working his way up as a power caller. He uses his white voice, and the white voice is David Cross.
Yeah.
As always, we'll be getting that out to you right away.
You're doing so good with the voice thing.
Holla, 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 holla.
And then Patton Oswalt also plays a character with a white voice in it. But so he gets up to power caller status, and then he starts selling worry-free job contracts. So he basically becomes a slave trader. As the movie goes on, you meet the guy who is in charge of worry-free, and then the movie takes a really, really hard left turn. And if you're on board for how weird this movie is, then you're going to love it. If you're not, you're going to be like, where the fuck did this come from? But basically, Worry Free has found a way to genetically turn people into horses, into horse people.
Huh.
Yeah, right. Like at the very end of the movie.
Well, you didn't have me until just now.
Right, exactly. And like this movie could be a prequel to BoJack Horseman for all intents and purposes, because they create these anthropomorphic, they turn the worry-free workers into horse people using geneticism. And the main character's like, oh my God, this is fucked up. We can't do this. Like, this is totally messed up. We have to say something about it. And as towards the end of the movie, they're like, no, Congress is okay with this. Like the people are just accepting it. And you're like, what the fuck kind of world am I living in right now where this is just okay? And it's definitely how we see things today with things, fucked up things happening every day, that if we don't have the power to change it or don't have the ability to do something about it, or if our voices aren't loud enough to make any type of change, then we just accept it and we just keep moving on with our lives. And I won't go into much more detail on how the movie ends, because it takes a couple more turns before the very, very end, but it almost gets post-apocalyptic and dystopian at the end. The Black Lives Matter movement is represented in a very specific way. It talks about riot culture. The movie talks about the culture of like social media and things going viral online, and how fucked up things that really mean something are just treated as a joke. That at the end of the day, it's just a sound clip that is taken and reproduced everywhere. And you watched. I gave you my Hulu password just so you would watch this movie.
On the last one, we talked about that, and I was. It reminded me a lot of a movie called Visioneers that had Zach Galifianakis.
Hadn't seen it.
It's just weird. The entire movie, it's shot in a way where it's reality, but it's very unrealistic. But they play it like it's normal, and. Concerning the horse stuff, there's plenty of horse dick jokes. Yeah. So for everybody who
you get to have a horse cock, Armie Hammer's in it as the leader of Worry Free. He's
perfect,
and he keeps dressing like Jesus more and more as the movie goes on, and like as a Messiah figure. It's
originally like up until you got to the part where you started talking about the overtones and see what's going on and how things don't become complacent. I was expecting it to just be like a version of Tusk. And I was like, oh, they're just turning people into horses.
There is some Tusk type shockers, moments that are very much like that, where it's like Cronenberg-esque almost.
Does it relate to the
and
horse
you
penis?
See horse dick, yeah. You see the full on what it would.
Are
be
they
like.
CGI or are they?
Yeah, it's not CGI. It's like a practical effects.
Really?
Okay,
Yeah, that looked kind of like CGI.
All right.
Or maybe it was part stop motion, because it does have, like, when you see the horse people moving around, it does look a little, but it reminds me of the Ninja Turtle outfits that they like. Well, you know how you would see like the animatronic mask almost. It seems like part animatronic.
Horse
maybe
dick and a half shell.
Horse dick and a half shell. That's the name of this episode.
Well, this is more than I've ever wanted to talk about horse dicks.
Well, then you obviously haven't talked about horse dick enough.
I guess I need to step it up.
Some damn good tea there.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just one of those. I every person that I had run into when around the time that the movie came out, I was making them watch that. I made my little brother watch it at Christmas, and like, just you have to sit down and watch this movie, because it's one of those that it has a very moving message to it and a realistic message to it, but at the same time it goes full absurd to where, this is probably something that's not going to happen, but it could.
It's got a very weird sense of humor to it too. A lot of the jokes are just odd.
Right.
I can see that you want to say no, but I wouldn't do that before you see what I'm offering you.
Speaking of, did you guys see? I guess messages. Did you see Black Klansman?
I did not. I've heard similarities between Black Klansman with the whole white voice thing.
Klansman?
Okay, it was it was Black Klansman. It was Spike Lee. It had Adam Driver.
Right.
It was really good. It's based on a true story, but it does take some divergence from the actual story.
Right.
But there was like, whatever you want to think about the movie, there's like this really like one dope scene, and it was like basically it takes place and it's bunch of, I don't want to call it like a Black Pride meeting or anything like that, but basically that's what it was. It was a bunch of young people listening to the story of this older guy. Tell them what life used to be like, where like I guess actually in segregation, about people getting beat. And he's like, I remember this one time. He talks about this time his buddy was accused of whistling at a white woman, and they strung him up, burned him, and mutilated him. But then at the same time, in contrast, it's the guy, Adam Driver, who is pretending to be the white man that the main character is voicing.
Right.
Because, I mean, obviously they would realize that.
Right, so
that
he's
guy's
infiltrating the Klan,
Yeah,
right?
he's infiltrating the Klan. That's the basis, that's the whole thing. And then at the same time, while that's going on, there's overlays in between that. Another scene where it's basically like the induction meeting for the Klan. It's like, here's your robes, like the initiation type thing, where instead of listening to these stories about that, at the same time as going over and going to the white pride part. And they're watching Birth of a Nation, like the first movie ever, and where the Klan is the heroes and all this other and getting hyped up and stuff like that.
Right.
And then it's like, one side's like, start chanting, Black Power with fist raised, the other was like, white power. And I was like, this is like a 5-minute like going on in between cutting back and forth. But I was like, that part alone was really fucking good. Like the rest of the movie is interesting.
Right.
It holds on, but that like 1 5-minute stretch was at least worth watching the movie.
Okay.
Because you'll sit there, it's like, oh, fuck, okay.
Right. The previous film he had made was what, Chirac? Wasn't that the last one he did in theater? Or Chirac?
Something like that. I don't even remember seeing that. I've seen a couple of them.
It was very brief in theaters, but yeah.
But I just saw that one because I knew the story before. I was like, I'll give it a shot. And plus, Kylo Ren's in it, and I'd like to see him in something I don't hate him in.
You hate Kylo Ren?
I don't know.
Oh, he's so fucking good in that movie.
He was good in Bus Driver. Bus Driver was a pretty good movie. That was who Jim Jarmusch, the guy who did like Broken Flowers. He's done a bunch of movies in that style. A lot of Bill Murray movies. But like he was really good in that. I thought it was ironic that Adam Driver was playing a driver. He's kind of on the nose casting.
It's a little typecast, don't you think?
Yeah.
Another good movie I saw, which it's not really good, but I love watching people that I like in movies, even
Good
if
is
they're not
subjective.
good. Yeah, so it was Danny McBride in Arizona. Fantastic.
I loved him in Vice Principals, but I hadn't seen that one.
See, the thing, a lot of the times, Danny McBride always comes across as someone who has a little bit of a screw loose.
Right.
And you ever seen the Foot Fist Way, where he's like, it's like a dark comedy. It's like Taxi Driver before like a guy at a local Taekwondo studio.
Nope.
It's sort of like that, sort of like Observe and Report, except this time
I saw Observe and Report.
It's sort of like that. The guys basically come across as loser, but instead of going to like the dark comedy type thing, he goes directly into this guy's. He starts killing everyone.
Okay.
Kills his ex-wife. Kills his. Seth Rogen played like his real estate agent or like the guy in the complex. Kills him. Kills a lot of other people.
This came out last year?
Yeah, this came out in 2018.
Arizona?
Yeah, it's called Arizona. And
Okay.
it's just Danny McBride going on a rampage and murdering a lot of people. And it's pretty good.
Reminds me of God Bless America, kind of.
I love that movie.
That was a really good movie.
God Bless America. Fantastic.
She bangs.
Just imagine all the less like preachy type stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
Danny McBride just murdering people.
I just liked Princess Bubblegum from Adventure Time calling people cunts. That made, and loving Alice Cooper. Like that made me really happy.
Yeah, that's Bill Murray's brother.
Yep.
Joel Murray. Yeah, Bobcat Goldthwait makes some real fucked up films. He likes to add a lot of message in there, though. Like, he dumps a lot of... Like, have you seen World's Greatest Dad?
Yes. Oh, God.
Love that movie.
That's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it's really good.
Especially because it's the kid from Spy Kids.
No.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You just now realized that was the kid
Yes.
from Spy Kids?
Yes, and he's such a little douchebag in that movie. Like,
Sabara or something like that. Yeah.
I love the realistic portrayal of some people who just think their kids are dicks.
Yeah.
Like, I pray to God my kid doesn't turn out to be some sort of douchebag, but if he did, I wouldn't want to think that they were the best kid in the world. Even if they were, I would try to help my kid be better, but You know, he's like, I know my son's a piece of shit. Like but he loves his son. I mean, it's a very complex relationship. I love
Man,
that
something
movie.
about always watching Robin Williams cry. It gets me
we
in
were
every
talking
single
about
movie.
that. Good
Every single
criers.
movie.
Robin Williams is a really good crier.
I mean, you just see someone who's like always very eccentric and over the top, and then just see them not be.
Like you see
Always sucks.
The World According to Garp. You ever see that flick?
Hold on.
The end of it?
The World According to Garp.
It's one of his early movies.
Yeah, really early on. It has John Lithgow on it too. He plays like a cross-dresser in that, or whatever the 2019
I don't remember if
term
I've
for that is.
I know I've heard of it. I just don't think I've actually seen it.
Yes, he's a cosplayer who happens to cosplay as someone with a vagina.
Okay. So Nathan Lane in the Birdcage.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is.
Another Robin Williams again.
All right, so let's see.
Ooh.
You go ahead.
What do you guys think about the Avengers movie?
Oh yeah, I was actually going to get to Infinity War on here. Stu had not seen a bunch of the movies that came out right before it, so he went in completely almost blind.
Yeah, because I'm not like super big into those. I mean, that one was good because it ended in a way that was interesting. I mean, they kind of resolved it in Ant-Man and the Wasp, so
No,
now
they
I'm kind of
didn't.
lost interest in it
No,
again.
they didn't.
I know what's gonna happen.
What's going to happen? What's going to happen?
They're gonna go into where his parents were, that like microcosm place, and they're all gonna be there, and they're gonna be fine.
Nope.
And either way, it's just I don't know.
Time
that one
for
was good though.
disease.
It's like I'm not a superhero guy so much really.
You're
Like,
not?
Yeah, I don't really get that deep into like stuff like that.
Cool. Take a smoke break. We're going to talk about this.
Okay, so what were your predictions going into it? Who did you
For-
think?
for
Who did you
Infinity
think
War?
was gonna die?
Who did I think was going to die?
Like die. Not like Soulstone die.
Tony Stark. Tony Stark, or I thought both Cap and him would die, but by the end of the movie, when they hadn't, I realized it was their sacrifice that was going to bring everybody back.
Yep. I'm fully expecting Cap to die, and he's my favorite, so I know like it's gonna hurt.
I thought
I'll
he'd die
cry.
in Civil War. I thought it because he died in the comics. He died after Crossbones assassinates
True.
him in the
The
Civil
only
War.
reason I
comics.
didn't think about that is just because I knew Infinity War was coming up, and like I mean, they're not gonna get rid of him yet.
Right, of course.
They got to have the
Of
heroic
course.
sacrifice. So the only thing I would like, that was kind of the only thing. I mean, I didn't really have like a whole lot of expectations. I just wanted it to be not shit.
Right.
And it was not shit. I had a blast watching it. And,
Absolutely.
Like it, even though I knew it was going to happen at the end, because I've read the comics, I've read the Infinity War type stuff that happens with the Gauntlet and all this other stuff. I knew it was going to happen, but still seeing it,
Right.
it still hurt. It was like, oh,
I love how they set it up. I think the marketing has been brilliant for the movies because they ended it in a very specific way. Now, the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer just came out, so spoiler alert, Spider-Man turns into dust at the end of Infinity War, but here he is with Nick Fury and Mariah Hill, who also turned to dust at the end of Infinity War. So Sony was kind of mad, or Marvel was kind of mad at Sony for releasing the trailer when they did, because it kind of spoils the fact that they do come. But everybody assumed Black Panther was going to come back.
I mean, they made like $1 billion in like 3 weeks.
There
Of
was
course they're gonna
no
come back.
way that they were going to leave him dead. So, you know, the movie was spectacular. I love how they didn't waste any time with setup. It was all culmination. The entire movie from start to finish, even though it was jumping around from place to place to place, the entire movie was just culmination.
Yeah.
And they let the audience, like they understood that the audience who was coming in for this movie had been coming to all of the other ones, and they didn't need to explain who was who or who was doing what anywhere. They just dropped you right into the story.
Yeah. The only thing I would have done differently is spread out like the underlings that Thanos had. Like, because they kind of pretty much kill them all off in the movie. And I was like, it'd have been dope. Because, you know, Thanos wants, like he said in the movie, he wants to just start a farm. And that's what he's going to finish out his life doing. It'd been great if they were just there with him. Because, you know, his like.
I thought, what's his face? The first one, Ebony Maw, was the best one.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
dude. Like, I would just love to see more. Yeah, Squidward.
Yeah, Squidward. Yeah,
I would
yeah,
just
Squidward.
love to see more dope shit that he could do, because he could do a lot more.
Exactly.
So
I'll peel it off your corpse.
I'm kind of hoping that with the snap that Thanos did, that maybe he brought one or two of them back as well.
I think that they were added in as a way to split the plot up, because if you look back in the earlier movies, they had the Mind Stone, and he gave the Mind Stone to Loki, unless he didn't know that the Mind Stone was in the scepter that he gave to Loki for the first Avengers movie. Like, why would he give that away, and then they lost it, and now he has to go and try to get it back?
Well, I think it was because he wanted someone to subvert Earth. And the Mind Stone alone, like, he was already going after the other stones. The Mind Stone alone, wasn't a big threat. I
Right.
mean, especially with Loki, because I mean, spoiler alert, Loki gets fucking nerfed in like the first like 5 minutes of the movie.
Do you think he's really dead?
I kind of hope so. Like,
Yeah, I
in
hope
comic
that
book
it had
fashion,
impact. So
I mean, I know that they have announced that Loki has a TV show coming up, but it's supposed to be like a best of hits from what I've heard. Where it's kind of like, this is Loki doing this type stuff. This is Loki back when he was alive doing this.
so
type
like an
stuff.
anthology type series.
Basically like an anthology type
I like
series,
that.
which is great. I mean, do I think Loki's really dead? In terms of comics, no one's ever really dead. The only person who I think should be dead, well, I don't want him to be, is Vision. Because like that dude got killed twice in a very, very brutal way.
Well, if someone did an analysis video of looking at when Shuri is doing her thing, trying to disconnect all the synapses from the Mind Stone in his brain, like she had actually finished it right before Corvus Glaive comes in and like they fight and everything. So I think if they do bring him back, it may be like the gray Vision that they had in the comics, where it was him, but he was all like one color instead of having like the Mind Stone. Maybe he can operate with that. I don't think there was enough cool stuff with Vision in the movies to warrant his death so early.
Yeah.
So I would like to see him come back. Gamora, I don't
Vision
think
was a big part of the Avengers. He used to do a lot of dope
exactly.
shit.
And him and Wanda got to make babies and stuff,
Yeah.
little half
And that-
abominations.
Yeah, and that was kind of the worst part was like knowing he can do all this dope shit and then pretty much just babysitting Wanda throughout the series.
Right,
After
right.
he got inducted. I mean, after he fought Ultron and killed him. But I mean,
Right,
I mean,
right.
still, it'd been cool to watch him.
He has some
do
cool
something.
parts in Civil War, but yeah, I think there could have been a lot more done with him. I hope Loki's permanently dead. I hope they bring back Gamora, but with how things have gone with James Gunn and the whole Guardians 3 has been put on hold indefinitely right now, they may change that plot line completely with what happens to the Guardians. You know, the ones that get snapped, maybe not all of them come back. Or
I just want Korg to come back at this point.
My name is Korg. I'm made of rocks. I love it. He didn't get snapped. Korg survived the
Oh, no.
snap. Yeah, him and
Thank the
Valkyrie made
Lord.
it off. Yeah, exactly.
Because if Korg would have gone, I would have been mad.
Did you see Thor Ragnarok?
The best Thor.
No,
It's
I haven't
okay.
seen
It's
that
on
yet.
Netflix. You should definitely watch it. Taika Waititi directed it. Who did
What We Do in the
What We
Shadows.
Do in the Shadows?
And
Which
for the
I
wilder
did
people.
love that.
Yeah.
And the show, I'm excited about the show for that. 'Cause, yeah.
He also plays Korg in the movie, so he does the mocap and the character voice, and he's a very
Amen.
he's like, hey
Very-
man, nice to meet you. My name is Korg.
Get out of here, Ghost.
Yeah, piss off, ghost.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't print enough pamphlets, and so my revolution didn't work.
I dig that guy, and it also
Rock was beat by paper, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. I loved Infinity War, but it was not my favorite comic book movie of the year. And I thought at the time it came out, it was, but there were 2 movies that actually topped the spot for me, and one of them I've already told you about. And that's
Wait, have you?
Teen
Titans.
Go.
Okay.
And this is gonna sound so fucking weird talking about a kids movie, but it is like, it's not even like, there's stuff in there I wouldn't even let my kids see. With like certain jokes that they make that are very adult and not for TV. Like they knew when they made this that they were done with Teen Titans Go on television, and so they could do whatever they want for a film. They can go a lot further with it. And it is like Deadpool for kids. It is incredibly meta. It makes a ton of comic book references, like really dark jokes. Like did you see the time travel scene that I sent you?
Yeah.
Okay, so they go back in time at one point and go to prevent superhero origin stories, and like for Superman, they go and keep the planet from collapsing by playing a dubstep EDM song or something, and they harmonize the crystals, and so Krypton isn't destroyed. And then they go to Aquaman as a baby, and they throw a little 6-pack like holder, you know, that kills the fish or whatever. They throw that in the water, and you see baby Aquaman drown. And then they go to Gotham City when Bruce Wayne is leaving with his parents to come out of the theater, and they're like, "Don't go down that's Crime Alley. Go down Happy Lane instead." And you know, it's like, and so they get back to the future because basically Robin is trying to get his own superhero movie, and by getting rid of all the other superheroes, he'll be able to have his own. And so he comes back to the future after going and preventing all of this, and the world has just gone to shit. So they're like, okay, now we need to undo what we just did. So they go back and they make Krypton explode, and then they save Aquaman by cutting the thing off. And then it goes to Batman, and when his parents are about to go into Happy Alley, they just push them into Crime Alley, like, here's some pearls to put on your necklace, and push them in, and you hear the gunshots.
Fuck.
Yeah, and they like there's a scene in the movie in the background where you see Robin's bedroom, and there's an urn on the dresser that says Robin 2 with a crowbar next to it. And it's like, you know, Jason Todd got beaten to death by the Joker in one of the comics. The second Robin got beaten to death by a crowbar. And so they just put that neat little reference in there. And there's so many little. There's a Stan Lee cameo in this movie. There, Lil Yachty plays Green Lantern. Nicolas Cage is Superman.
Finally.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Finally. It's just it was so it was unexpected. I put it on for my kids to watch, and my kids get bored and go watch it. I paid more attention to it than my kids did, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I didn't care for the Teen Titans Go TV show, but the meta darkness that the movie has is great for adults. So that's one that took the top spot from Infinity War for me because how unexpected it was, and it's got like a 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It's got a higher score than Infinity War does. The second one I really enjoyed was Into the Spider-Verse. Have you seen Into the Spider-Verse?
No.
I've seen it twice now in theaters.
I was never a big Spider-Man guy. I'm going to see it. I was just never a really big Spider-Man guy.
Okay. Spider-Man Spider-Man and X-Men were my two biggest comic books when I was growing up, and so I found that movie to be one of the best animated films ever made. The use that they have to make it look like a comic book and the type of animation, it's not just CG animated. There's almost like a stop motion feel to the movie. It's like they changed the frame rate of the movie so the characters move and it seems more realistic while still being animated. And each Spider-Man character that comes from the Spider-Verse is animated in their own style. So like the one from the future that's like an Asian, like an anime one is animated very much like a Studio Ghibli film. Peter Porker, Spider-Ham is animated like a Looney Tunes character. That's the one John Mulaney voices. And so he's Peter Porker. So, and then like Nicolas Cage is Spider-Man Noir, and his character is just all black and very much looks like a Frank Miller comic anytime he's on screen. So that one, I loved it so much. I took my kids to see it, and then I went and saw it by myself a couple days later because I just loved it.
Oh, that's cool.
Nicolas Cage is everywhere.
He is.
Yeah, because he was in Mandy.
Yeah.
Which, fuck, Mandy was... It's not a movie you watch for the plot. It's just not. It's made by the director Panos Cosmatos, who did a movie called Beyond the Black Rainbow that I think Stranger Things stole the whole thing for Elle from. Just the way that that's shot and the way that looks, I'm just like, all right, this looks like Beyond the Black Rainbow. But it's a revenge movie. It's like, spoiler, they kill his wife, and it's him trying to go after this weird LSD biker cult. And visually, it looks great. And it's very violent, very bloody, all that good stuff.
Like Tarantino,
it's just
blood.
Yeah,
I've heard
it's
good
just a
things.
gore fest. And you get Nicolas Cage screaming some ridiculous shit about them ripping his favorite shirt,
Well,
which it's not a Nicolas Cage movie until he screams something like ridiculous. So it's perfect.
do you guys know why he's in everything? Because what was it? Right around the time of adaptation, he bought like a bunch of shit. He like, I think he had
Like
to get a
rights?
bankruptcy. No, like he bought a bunch of houses, a bunch of fancy art,
Okay.
and then I think he went through a divorce or two, and then he just had a bunch of debt, and that's why he's acting in so much stuff. Is because from what
He's got to pay the bills.
he's got to pay the bills, and so if you get enough to to even get him, he'll pretty much do it. Which is what I had to read because I was wondering why he's popping up in a bunch of other stuff just randomly. But yeah, I was like, well, that's cool. I love Nicolas Cage to a certain degree. I loved adaptation.
I've never seen it.
I love that movie.
Hated
never
and
seen
loved
it.
It's one of my favorite movies.
I hated Nicolas Cage in it, but I loved him at the same time.
Didn't he play twins in that?
So that's why you
played
hated
Schwab.
you hated one and loved the other.
Well, yes, but I also hated their fake hair.
Oh
Their
yeah,
prosthetic
that's
hair
probably
was-
why I didn't see the movie.
Oh, I love that movie, man.
I mean,
I like Kaufman, though.
it's a surreal type movie.
Yeah.
There was a twist to it, like good Shyamalan level twist at the end that I didn't even see coming. And I was
Okay.
sitting there, I was like, well, the plot's resolved. I was like, why is there like 35 minutes left?
Tell me, I want to know.
Okay, well, basically, anyway, so he's a screenplay writer.
Okay.
And he's writing a screenplay with his brother, and then basically he starts writing a book about what was it, a White Lotus or no? White Lotus.
No, it's an orchid.
Oh yeah,
It's-
White Orchid or something like that.
That
It
got
was-
stolen. It was an orchid that was like harvested from a swamp in Florida.
It was like a reservational swamp or something like
Yeah.
that where you couldn't take anything from it.
Okay.
And it's very special. So what the guy did in the story, or in the book, was he was a white guy who hired a bunch of natives to go in there because they could do it.
Okay.
So when he hired them to do it, and he gets stopped by, I guess, the game warden or the park ranger, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm just, I'm just hiring these guys or whatever." And then he's like, "Well, you can't be taking that." He's like, "Well, I can't, but they can." And he's like, see here? He's like reading off laws and stuff, which is pretty cool. And then, anyway, it's basically him just trying to figure out how the fuck he's going to write a story about a flower. And then it turns out that there's a bunch of other shit going on, and that the lady is having an affair with the guy he's writing the book about. That she wrote the book that he's writing the screenplay on.
Okay.
So just make it clear, because it's kind of confusing.
Gotcha.
So anyway, finds out that after he goes to, I guess, interview them or something like that, because he wants to know something about the plot of the book or something.
Yeah, doesn't he like catch them fucking?
Yeah,
like,
he
in their
catches them
place?
banging.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
one of his Meryl Streep.
Yeah, it's Meryl Streep. And then, so that was some good sex.
She's fine. She's one of the old ladies who would be on my list.
Yes.
Yeah. Along with Oprah.
Yeah. Get her pregnant.
Yeah.
But
you get a blowjob.
But anyway, so basically, it catches them fucking, and then they try to kill Nicolas Cage's character. And his brother was there, but they didn't know, so he tagged along, and then basically it's them running through a swamp, and at the end, you think they get away. Turns out they don't. There's like a car crash. One of them dies. One of the brothers, Nicolas Cage's, one of the twins dies. I can't remember which one. The good one, the one I liked, he died.
Okay.
And then it was basically just the other Nicolas Cage. It was like, well, we did this, and we got this done, and here's the movie. And the funny thing is about it, after researching it, the guy who wrote Adaptation is like a semi-biography. Not like he didn't have a twin brother. None of this is like real, but he's the same. What was real? He wrote that he was trying to write a screenplay about this book, and then he turned that into the movie. It's really
so
fucking.
meta.
There's a lot of layers.
It's fucking crazy.
It's like onions, ogres, and parfait. You know, they all have layers to them.
Yeah, and it was just like, I was like, wow. Did he really have a brother who died? And he's like, no. Like
that part's fake.
None of the crazy shit at the end was real. And I was like, oh, thank God.
I didn't walk in on Meryl Streep banging.
What was the movie about Schmidt that shows Kathy Bates naked?
Yeah. You got to see Kathy Bates, did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Kathy Biddies.
Ooh. Misery.
She jacked his Nicholson.
That's awful.
Oh yeah, it was.
All right. Stu, you got another one worth mentioning?
The only other, I think, like, because I saw Infinity War with you, which was good, even though I don't watch stuff like that, I enjoyed it.
Right.
It was, there was enough at stake in the way it ended. Like, I'm a fan of down endings.
Like The Mist?
Yeah. I like shit
movie.
where it's just everything's fucked up and everybody dies. So I was like, finally a superhero movie. Like when Peter Parker died and he turned to dust, maybe I'm fucked up for this, but this chick next to me started crying and I started laughing. It's what I did. It's like I started laughing because the way he said it was funny to me. The way it was, I don't feel so good, and I thought it was hilarious, but apparently not. Yeah. But I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp with you, which was,
It was
there.
okay. It wasn't as good as the first one. In my opinion.
It was a movie.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't like.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't mind just sitting back and just escaping reality.
Right, and I think they did that on purpose. There was a lot of that was done very intentionally about that movie being the next one in the MCU. They wanted to make it a lot smaller and smaller stakes and everything. I mean, very much in,
Yeah. I mean, it was good. Like I said, I'm not calling it bad.
Right.
One that I was really excited for is the house that Jack built, because I like all the disturbing fucked up shit.
It's the Lars von Trier.
Yeah, the guy who made Antichrist and all that.
Nymphomaniac.
Matt Dillon is like a serial killer, and
so he plays himself.
Matt Dillon is an actual serial killer.
I mean, he played the part well enough. But so there's three different
I need to
versions of this
investigate.
movie. There's a version where apparently everybody's walking out of Sundance because it was so like people like
Right.
Yeah, it was so gruesome.
Very controversial.
Yeah, there's a scene where he like snipes these kids in front of the mother. Like he takes them out to teach them hunting, and then it just cuts to him like sniping them and talking about how the order in which you hunt deer, and he's hunting them exactly like you would that. He was like, all right, you got to kill the oldest kid because the mother's going to turn around, and then you can get her, and then you save the youngest for last. It's this big thing, and he talks about, because it's like he's a psychopath, and it's trying to get into his psychology of why he thinks the way he does. But there's that version, and then apparently just the unrated version. I saw the R version where it cut almost all the gore out. The cool thing about it, well, that made it like those old school 50s horror movies where like when people died, it cuts away.
Sort of
Which
like
is
when
kinda
you
neat.
see him like aiming down the sights, you see the trigger pull.
Yeah.
Or you see it zoom in on them, and then you see
Yeah.
the trigger pull type stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like it's weird that the versions are so fucking different like that. But that was the version I saw, and I enjoyed it. It's like there's dialogue over everything that's happening that's like voiced over, and it's him talking to a guy confessing everything to him, and you don't know why, and at the end it's revealed.
It's like an unreliable narrator type deal.
Kinda. It's weird, and what it turns out to be is kind of interesting. The last 15 minutes of that movie get really like it's just like, all right, what the fuck is going on? Because it takes a weird turn, but I dug it. I haven't seen like the version that everybody was like throwing up over and shit, but I kind of want to.
Right.
That's that good stuff.
I'm sure it's out there on 1, 2, 3 movies.
That's where I found this one. It's the only version I could find. It's hard to find.
Okay.
I will say there's one movie that I saw that I did not like, which is very difficult. Because this
we were
movie
going to talk about some ones we didn't like this year either.
Because this movie could have been good. This movie could have been great. And it was the Predator movie, the new one that came out.
Shane Black.
With Shane Black. Yeah. And to be fair, I haven't liked a lot of stuff Shane Black did. I didn't like Iron Man 3. I didn't care
for Iron Man 3. I loved Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and the other guys.
Yes,
Or
those
the-
are the no,
not the other guys.
The good guy, nice guys.
Nice guys.
Yeah, with
Yes.
Russell Crowe, where he's fighting around the world.
Yes,
And-
I love those. Those two were great.
Yeah.
This one, not.
It was treated like a comedy, right?
It was like the original Predator, survival thriller type, almost psychological type thing. It's like, how are you going to survive against something you can't see? It is hunting you. It's killed everyone you know. All this other shit. You're supposed to be the most elite person on the planet type shit, and there's nothing you can basically do. In this, it's kind of like there's a predator. I'm going to spoil it because it's the plot's awful.
It's like the
plot's awful. So there's so basically there's a predator, a good predator. But you don't know he's good.
I remember reading this.
Okay. You don't know this.
Wait, doesn't that make it not a predator? If it's a good version, doesn't that make it
apparently there's
to catch and not a predator?
Apparently there's a lot of political angst on Predator Homeworld. And there's some so here let me tell you the story. Okay. So I'm sitting here watching it. I was like, okay, Predator's coming to Earth. Something's wrong. His ship's going up. And I had seen in the trailer there's a bigger predator. I was like, oh shit, this is an escaped convict, like running from someone. And then hold on, and then and so his ship escapes. And then this typical type, the original Predator type beginning, where there's special forces type shit. They come across it, but they see something that looks like like some sort of gimmicky type shit, where the main character, he takes it. He takes this thing that he found from the Predator ship. It just happens to be the one thing that the Predator needs
Did they
really
not
bad.
see the first one?
Yeah. Hold on. So he takes this thing, but little does he know, he's getting some dope tech. He turns invisible with it. And to smuggle it back to America, he swallows it. Goes all the way to Mexico, comes back to America, shits it out. Okay. Well, all the while, this Predator is trying to find this guy and get this particular tech back. So he sent like the big thing back, but the little small thing that made him invisible is in his ass the first 30 minutes of the movie. But
Okay.
Up his ass.
Was the main character's name Eric Cartman?
No, but
This sounds like episode of fucking South Park.
no. Well, to be honest, the main character was so fucking forgetful that I only remember the side characters, because they were great. Then
Danny McBride's in it, isn't he?
No,
That's Alien. Never
that's Thomas Jane, the original
Thomas-
Punisher.
yeah,
Well, not
okay.
the original, but my favorite Punisher.
my favorite as well, sir.
And then Keegan-Michael Key. Those guys were great.
right,
Those are
that's
the
right.
highlights of the movie. There's like one more. I can't remember who the fuck he was right now. But anyway, so let's see what happens. This guy comes back. They're like, so you saw an alien? It's like, we call them the Predator, blah, 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 blah. So they send him to
Different franchise, motherfucker.
They send him to a secret police
have the
jail,
rights
or a
to that.
secret military jail, where they only send the worst people that have broken military rules type shit. He gets on the bus, and they're all having fun. Thomas Jane, I can't remember if he has Tourette's or he's pretending to have Tourette's. And he's just
He's making a very strange
Cartman.
acting choice.
No,
I think
he was
this is South
fantastic.
Park.
'Cause I was like, I can't remember if he was fucking with him or he did. I think he actually did have Tourette's. But anyway,
What an odd choice.
yeah, and Keegan-Michael Key's making jokes the entire time, and then guess what? The Predator finds him. But here we go. Here's
It's what
the
he
thing.
does, isn't it?
Here's
Find
the
prey.
thing. Here's the thing. So his kid, the guy, he sent this fucking alien tech to his own home, to his kid. The kid gets it. Guess what it is? that fucking shoulder cannon thing.
Oh, okay,
He sends
okay.
it to them. The kid blows up some shit. I think he blows up a house, and I'm pretty sure he annihilated like a drug dealer with it. Just because this thing auto-locks on and blows up any threat. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. All right, maybe this movie's not going to be so bad. I was wrong. Anyway, because that particular thing.
Oh, wait, there's more.
And I'm going to tell you, because it doesn't tell you why the Predator, the big Predator, which I'm getting to, wants this thing so bad. So little Predator, like, he gets like tranked or
Like
some
Lil
shit.
Bill?
Yeah. Little Predator gets tranked. He's like getting operated on. He wakes up. He goes berserk, kills everyone in there. While he's doing this, guess who comes?
Big Predator?
Big Predator. This big Predator is like some fucking hybrid Predator.
Which would be Bill Cosby in real life in that scenario.
Which they don't really tell you about. But this big Predator is a hybrid of the greatest, like the reason they're harvesting all these skulls is for the spinal fluid in them. So all these skulls that they've been harvesting across the galaxy, they've been making some hybrid type warrior type shit. And this guy is like 4 feet taller. He has like a fucking exoskeleton type thing. I can't remember. He's just like
He's like Super Predator.
he was like super Predator type shit. Big Predator. Papa Predator.
Papa Predator.
And then
Predator.
so anyway.
This prey's too small.
So anyway,
This one's just right.
so basically what happens is some bullshit with a girl. Big Predator catches Little Predator. They fight a little bit. You're like, yeah, Little Predator, beat that big guy's ass.
Is this a metaphor for masturbation?
Yes. And this kind of, you're stroking some egos here. Anyway, Big Predator rips Little Predator's skull out, like, some Predator type shit, and he just throws it away. I was like, okay, that's probably the best part of this movie so far.
Metaphor for semen?
Yes. And then turns out, I'm going to skip to the good parts, but anyway, there's a bunch of bullshit. A lot of people die. You're thinking, wow, everybody dies the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And you're like, wow, this is kind of fucking, I was like, is anybody going to die in this movie? It's like the only people who have died are like NPCs. Like no one really important has died so far. All the side characters are alive. All the side characters that are kind of like the best part of the movie die in the same 3-minute scenes. Like where they're like, we're going to trap this big motherfucker and then we're going to kill him somehow and all this other shit. And then they kind of do. They kind of blow him up, I guess. But anyway, you find out the thing this guy wanted was some super anti-predator armor that the little Predator stole from the big predators and the people there because he wanted humanity to have the best chance because they were coming. The Predator people were coming. And they were gonna like harvest humanity and
So
make them
Little
slaves
Predator
or
was
some
coming
shit.
to help?
Little Predator was a hero, I guess. And it's kind of like, is this like why? I'm just tired of these people fucking with good shit. You could have just made Predator come down like every movie before, and just made him just kill people, and it had been exciting. Even Predator 2 was better than this movie, and Predator 2 was not that great.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. This is why I don't watch movies anymore. This kind of shit is why I fell off, because
I'd say watch it so you can be like, what the fuck are they doing?
it's like you took a Mad Libs book with characters from movies that you like and just got drunk and filled out the Mad Libs. Is what that sounded like.
That's what I
to
felt
me.
like Solo, a Star Wars story was.
Okay.
Are we going to talk about this?
Okay, dude, I didn't love Solo Star Wars Story, but I will say that after Last Jedi, because I was not a fan of Last Jedi.
Oh,
There
God.
were some things that I was like, it could have been better. Like,
Come a little bit closer if you can.
there were some things that could have been better. Which I'll get into. Like, the Last Jedi for me is a whole nother podcast. However, I will say that the Solo story, I didn't hate it. I wasn't like, oh, this is kind of dumb. I was like, oh, this is kind of outlandish. This is kind of.
It felt like a
Kitschy.
Netflix Star Wars movie.
I mean, even then, I was still okay with it.
It's
there
on
was
Netflix
some
now.
good stuff. Like the cinematography in it was okay.
No,
It was-
it's actually, it got nominated for an Oscar for Best Visual Effects just recently. So, I mean,
there was some cool shit, like some of the background stuff, like they explained the Kessel Run, because a lot of people like growing up was like, well, Kessel, like the parsec's like a measure
Right.
of what was it, time or distance, and like, oh, so it doesn't make sense, and then they're like, oh no, it does make sense, and
right,
we'll explain why.
And you, if you round up, you know,
it's like, oh, okay, now I get it.
you didn't see Solo, right?
It shows how he got his name.
I heard too much like mixed shit.
Right.
I thought about throwing it on to fall asleep to the other night, and
What turned me off the most was that they fired Lord and Miller and brought on Opie from the Andy Griffith Show to direct it. And I mean, Ron Howard can be a competent director, but you can tell there was so much that was redone in the movie, and sets look cheaper because they ran out of money. Like this was the budget for this movie was higher than any other Star Wars movie.
$300 million,
Right,
like that.
because
That
they had
was insane.
to refilm 80% of the movie. Anything that was just characters talking in a location had to be refilmed because Lord and Miller were trying to do a very much improvisational style, and Lawrence Kasdan and them wanted to stick to the script exactly.
Yeah.
And so there was a bunch of you can tell that there is a shifting tone through the movie, and that they tried to piece together what they could. Lord and Miller went on to produce Into the Spider-Verse later on, which that shows perfectly how you can do something different that's in an established universe and make it amazing.
And to be fair, after like reading of some of the stuff that stayed in that they'd done, everything that they did in that movie was some of my favorite parts of the movie.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
It was. I was like, wow, okay. I was like I hate Ron Howard. Ron Howard is a fantastic director in his own right, but it's kind of like
They went with the safe choice,
Yeah,
and it
was
feels like a safe movie.
Yeah, and like I mean, there was some stuff I really didn't care about. I was like, I don't care how Han Solo got his name. I don't care if his real name was Han Davis. Like it's
Han
like,
Davey.
Like I was like, okay, like that's a unique way to get his alias. That's fine with me. I don't care.
Oh, you're by yourself. You must be Solo.
Yeah.
Wait, is that really what they
Yeah.
did?
Yes.
That?
Yes.
He's
he's escaping off of his homeworld, off of Corellia, and he goes to an Imperial recruitment center. And they're like, my name's Han, and that's all he ever has gone by because he's just a street rat, He's just going around stealing bread, and so he tries to escape from the people he screwed over someone, and they're like, okay, Han, what's your last name? He's like, I don't have one. He's like, all right, Solo, and they. It's so bad. It's so bad. At least there are certain parts of that movie I think they did really well. I thought Darth Maul was cool at the end. Spoiler alert.
I didn't mind the way they met Chewie because I mean, throughout the original story, you see that
it's very similar to the comics.
Yeah,
or the
Chewie
books.
has a life debt to Han,
Right?
And then you're like, why? How does this 8-foot fucking monster have a life debt
Right.
to this? Like Han Solo's the pet to Chewie. Like,
Right.
It's not the other way around.
Right. I love that their dynamic was great. They got that spot on with how it was in the original films and everything, and that a lot of that comes to the fact that Lawrence Kasdan and his son wrote. Lawrence Kasdan is the one who wrote Empire Strikes Back. He wrote most of the dialogue for Han Solo in all of the films. So they kept it very true to the characters, and I thought that relationship was the best part of the movie for me, at least. But yeah, so that's it. It was underwhelming. I was expecting it. I knew when the first trailer came out and you see the title card come up with how cheap the title card kind of looked. Like the trailer was just odd, and they waited a super long time to start marketing this film because they had to do a ton of reshoots and change things in the movie and redo it all. So when it finally did come out, I was just like, okay, fine, and I enjoyed it in the theater. Like a movie that I guess the movie I was most disappointed in this year was Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which Jurassic World, the first one, was an unexpected love for me. Like, I had so much fun in the theater when I saw that, and so many people were talking shit about it. And, normally I'll pick a movie apart, or I'll pick, my favorite movie reviewer has an opinion on it, and typically I'll like side with one or the other on it. But I was completely against what these people were talking about. I loved it. It was a great time. Fallen Kingdom was a piece of shit. It really was.
To go back to what people were saying, people were like, well, I can't believe Jurassic World like ruined Jurassic Park series. I'm like, dog, after Jurassic Park 1, the series sucked. Like Jurassic Park 2
was
and 3.
good.
3 was the one that had Alan, it's like a talking velociraptor. I'm going to put in a clip of that.
I dug 2. Like when he eats the dog and shit.
Oh, yeah.
2 is good.
Okay, yeah.
It's like I think it's We're Back, where they're fucking. That's dinosaurs in the city, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it's like that, but fucked up.
Here's the way to make a good Jurassic Park movie. From what I've seen, don't take the dinosaurs off the island. Don't do it.
Well, it's too late for that.
Now it's too late.
They're in suburbia now.
It's like, stop making crazy hybrids that are always more badass than the one before. Just fucking give me a T-Rex or some raptors, and that's all I need to know.
Right. Put it. I think the next, because they've alluded to a lot in the movies that they're going towards a very militarized dinosaur. Is I think what the next one's going to be like is they have raptors with laser packs on them and shit and.
Oh my god. Well, see, that's the thing I didn't like about the end of the movie is because now there's just dinosaurs running about. Like there's just T-Rexes out there and shit that nobody seems to give.
They can clone people now too. Like that was just added in.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, what the fuck is happening? This is no longer Jurassic World. Well, I guess it is Jurassic World because I don't know what the fuck's happening in this world.
So I know movies are made up, but
everything's made up. Stay woke.
This shit is getting like. Can we just stop making movies if? Like, they sound like fucking Mad Libs. They all sound like Mad Libs, where it's like, all right, so dinosaurs, and let's write some shit next to it. All right, jetpacks. It's like, next thing you know, it's going to be like a romance where, like, one dinosaur, like, falls in. There's gonna be some. I don't know. It's just.
Like a dinosaur, like a rom-com
You know
with
they're
dinosaurs.
gonna fucking do it. It's gonna be a side plot in one of these shitty fucking movies.
Here's Chris Pratt, and here's him at his
No,
dinosaur
it's
daycare.
gonna be Matthew McConaughey and
Ooh,
Jennifer
Matthew
Lawrence
Broderick.
or
How about
something.
that? That'd be a good one.
Oh, he's ruined enough shit with dinosaurs with that Godzilla movie.
Oh yeah, that's
I'm not gonna
very
blame him
true.
for
No
Godzilla.
more.
Why would they cast Matthew Broderick as the hero of Godzilla? To be fair, the other Godzilla they put out where they killed Bryan Cranston in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I hated that trailer so much because they made it seem like he was such a big part of the movie, only to have him fuck off. Because that was right around
It was still better than
Breaking Bread.
It was still better than fucking the one with Broderick and P. Diddy and Jimmy Page are doing shit together.
I
and-
forgot about Jimmy Page doing the song with that
Yeah,
because
what
they did like Cashmere. They remixed
Yeah, what the
Cashmere.
fuck? Like everything about it's again. Can we just?
Cringe.
I feel like we just need to take like 10 years where we just don't make any fucking movies.
Oh yeah, we're getting into this.
Yeah, well, no, because I mean, really, it's like let's let the fucking. It's like they've creatively came so much that it's like, all right, we're just blowing dust at this point.
Oh, here we go.
It's like, just let the juices build back up, and then we'll make some good shit again.
You know what's
maybe.
gonna happen after that 10 years though? Picture this: a trailer opens, a world like you've never seen before. An old enemy returns. The Predator. Hold on. It's the Predator, but it's not just the Predator.
No, that's not.
It's also a female Predator in an apron and his two Predator kids. And they're trying to survive in suburbia with no one realizing who they are. It's like, what is it? What Tom Hanks where his neighbors are serial killers. Or
The Burbs.
The Burbs. It's like the Burbs, but with the Predators.
And Nicolas Cage is Predator.
He's Big Papa Predator. He's Grandpa
Yeah.
Predator.
Yeah. He's fucking.
That's what.
Hollywood, contact us
Yes.
for that.
Yeah.
That's a thing now.
That's right.
But-
Screenwriter
they have
right
an
here.
alien as a pet dog, like the dragon in Spike, from the Munsters. But it's an alien.
It's a little.
It's
What do they call
From
them?
the franchise Alien.
Xenomorphs.
A xenomorph, right?
Yeah, from the franchise Alien. Because why not? It's like at this point, we just wrote a movie that is equally as good as all the past two
Alien
movies
versus
that you
Predator
described.
versus Matthew McConaughey. all right.
Ooh, Matthew McConaughey is the neighbor who tries to seduce the lady predator.
And he's just creepy and greasy the whole time, and he just cannot tell that they're actually dinosaurs or predators in disguise.
And they actually have sex at one point. It's like that fucking scene in True Detective when he fucks Woody Harrelson's wife, but with predators. Why not? At this point,
That's what I want.
That's great.
If was it Lord and Miller? If you guys want to get on that,
That's
together
right.
with
Like,
us.
they don't have as much going on because they canceled the Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover, which I was really hoping for. As
okay,
crazy as that
it's-
sounds,
it's men and African Americans. This is 2019. We can't.
men in African Americans.
Sounds like a politically correct porno.
So we talked about that was disappointing. Have you seen Aquaman?
I have not, but then again, I haven't seen any of the DC movies since Batman vs Superman.
You don't have to. Don't worry with seeing Justice League. It's a piece of shit. It's a horrible, awful movie. Aquaman is incredible.
Are you trying to tell me that them rushing to a punchline or rushing to the finish line resulted in something other than perfection?
It certainly seems that way.
Are you trying to tell me that they built up an entire plot around an entire team of superheroes that become irrelevant when one more person comes to the party and just wipes out the bad guy in 5 seconds?
Have you not listened to your own words describing that Predator movie? It's like at this point, anything is fucking fair game. Like, it's all open season at this point. If they can do that with Predator, it's like, it doesn't matter. It's.
I don't even know who to blame. 'Cause I don't hate Batfleck.
So I've got one more movie I want to mention, and then let's talk Lifetime movies after that, if you want to look at some of those on there.
Well, you want to do that on the next one? Because I think we're running kind of long, aren't we?
We're at an hour and a half right now.
Yeah,
We're at
so-
hour and 25 minutes. We'll save it. We
Yeah.
basically have a playlist of trailers from Lifetime movies, and I want to do some reactions to those at some point because they're just spectacularly bad. But the last movie I wanted to mention is called Joshi. Have either of y'all seen Joshi? I've told you about it.
You've told me about it, and it reminds me, yeah.
It's written, I think it's written by Nick Kroll. Let me pull that up so I don't sound
Ruxin from the league.
stupid right now. It came out in 2016, and it stars Thomas Middleditch from Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And from also all of the Verizon commercials that are everywhere right now.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was written and directed by Jeff Benea.
I call him Michael Cera's cousin.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, this is a very dramatic role for him. And I thought it was going to be a comedy because I had seen Silicon Valley. It was really the only thing I had seen him in. And I remember a girl I was dating at the time had gotten this on DVD. And I didn't have a DVD player, so I couldn't watch it. But she had, it was just one of those that she had a DVD collection, and we just never made it around to watching it. So I saw it was on Hulu, and I gave it a watch, and I was blown away by this movie because it's not a comedy, and it is, and it's not. But let me just go through and spoil it. Alison Brie is in it from Community, and yeah.
Yes. Oh, was she which one was she? Was she Britta or the other
No,
one?
she was Annie. She's Annie.
Ooh, yeah, the dark
so
hair.
Alison Brie is in it at the very beginning of the movie. Her and Thomas Middleditch's character Joshy are planning their wedding, and so at the beginning of the movie, you see him going like it's her birthday, or it's his birthday. I don't remember whose birthday it is, but somebody's birthday. He goes to work out in his gym at the apartment complex. When he comes back, his fiance has strangled herself and like commits suicide.
So Alison Brie kills herself?
Yes, at the beginning of the movie, she kills herself. The movie really picks up what the movie is about is that he had planned his honeymoon with all of his friends to have at one point in a camping trip in the mountains somewhere. And so since they had already paid for the tickets and everything, all of his friends come out and try to console him. And it's really, this movie is about all the different types of ways different friends will try to help someone cope. Nick Kroll very much just wants to party and do cocaine and bring hookers and all kinds of shit, and then
I mean, that's life.
Right. That's what all the people say. So yeah, the movie kind of like you see some really emotional shit, like we were talking about crying. Thomas Middleditch, like his fiance's parents, who are played by Paul Reiser is the father of Alison Brie, and the mother is another older comedic actress. I can't remember her name, but they come and try to accuse him of like killing her. And there's all this stuff that's happening in the background, and you see towards the very end of the movie him really start to deal with the fact that she's killed herself, because he talks about how mad he is at her for killing herself. Like, he can't express his anger towards her because she's dead, but he's so pissed off at her for leaving and leaving him to deal with all of this shit and just checking out. And there's so many different angles that it takes at looking at situations like suicide and toxic friendships. And at one point he has a friend show up who has a kid, and he's very much like the family man who's actually trying to get his friend to deal with this issue, and all of his other friends just want to party and go drink. And it was such an interesting, weird movie that I was not expecting at all. I wasn't expecting to laugh my ass off and bawl my eyes out at the same time in one sitting. Like, it just wasn't expected. And so it was a very pleasant surprise for me when I finally did catch it. I was like, damn, I wish I'd watched this a lot earlier. But it was just, it's beautifully well made, very well shot and written. It's a simple movie about a bunch of friends in the woods, in the mountains, trying to deal with their friend's fiance suicide. So, yeah, Joshy, definitely check it out.
I just thought of something cool that we could probably do with this.
What's that?
Okay, so like all the stuff that we haven't seen, like over the next couple of weeks, like we all watch what. Oh, I'm not watching that Predator movie.
I'm not watching Mother, so
sorry. Okay, but something else. But
I'll watch 3 Billboards.
Yeah.
So
That would be a good one
Billboards.
for you and I to watch, and he
Okay.
can watch. I need to watch Joshy too.
I can watch any movie. I have no problem with it whatsoever.
Let's do that.
You have a very wide palette.
Let's get our reactions to some of the stuff that we talked about on this, because I wanted to see Joshy. I just. Like, is it on Hulu, or like what's that on?
It's on Hulu.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So I'll check that out, because it sounds really. It reminds me of I Melt With You, which has like Jeremy Piven, a couple other people
seen
who were
Jeremy
like
Piven
kind
in
of
a
big in
while.
the 80s, like 80s, 90s, and it's like they're these friends who are like old and they all have like careers and shit, and they go out to like this condo and party, and then everything starts falling apart, and
Right.
it's a lot of I don't know how to say it without spoiling it.
Spoil it.
They all end up committing suicide.
Oh, fuck. That's a spoiler.
No, it's like one kills himself, and then the others are so fucked up in the head from it that they all slowly start killing. I think a couple kill each other.
How slowly can one kill themselves?
It's fucked up, man. But it reminds me a lot of that, kinda.
Okay.
It's just that where it's like, oh, friends hanging out, but it's dark and fucked up.
Right.
Where it's, you think it's all just like, the first 30 minutes of the movie is like, it's, a good time. And then it's just not. But that sounds like this is kind of the opposite. Where it's a bad time and then it gets...
It gets more hopeful towards the end. And there are moments where I think the movie effortlessly switches between tones. Because one scene... There's a married guy who meets this woman on this trip, and he kind of falls for her. And the reaction that the girl gives the guy is some of the most genuine awkwardness between a guy and a girl who aren't really sure of their romantic entanglement with each other. The way she reacts to it blew me away. And every single actor in this is a comedic actor, but they're all doing dramatic type roles. But there's some real cringy, like, this guy's thinking about leaving his wife for this girl, and the girl's like, this is really awkward. I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm going to leave. And it doesn't go the way you would expect a movie to go. The movie is so realistic in the way people talk to each other and the reactions one gives, to hearing the situation about his friend killing himself and stuff. It's just... It's great. It's just really, really great. Well made. It's a cheap, it's a low budget film. It's nothing fancy. It's character and it's dialogue, and it's just
mostly like good talking.
Exactly.
I can dig that more so than Predator. I'm sorry, I keep going back to that. It's so shitty.
Little Baby Predator and Papa Predator.
Please watch it. Like, you don't have to watch the whole thing. Just try to find like a compilation of the worst parts of that movie.
Man.
Okay. Or read the script, or
if
read.
I wanted to drive nails through my nutsack, I just would.
I just would.
Like, I got nails. It's like I don't know if I can physically.
I will say
this.
there were some redeeming qualities, and it was basically Keegan-Michael Key and Thomas Jane.
I'll watch Key and Peele.
They kept it
I
going.
like that show.
The side characters, nice. Everything else, awful. And it even had what was his name? Was it Ronald Kate Sterling from This Is Us?
Oh yeah.
He was the bad guy in it, I think.
Oh, okay.
If I remember correctly. And I was like, he wouldn't be a bad villain if this was the most stupidest fucking plot I've ever heard of.
Yeah, normally spoilers don't affect it for me because the movie's supposed to be so good that, like, even if I know what happens, I want to see it. But this is so bad that it's like, God fucking damn it.
They tried so hard to recreate the magic of the first Predator movie. There's like shitty one-liners. I'm pretty sure there was references to like pop culture shit that's going on now, and I'm just like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Who wrote this?
Shane Black.
I'll watch.
He wrote the original ones too. Like, he wrote but didn't direct. Like, he did all the Lethal Weapon films. He wrote the Lethal Weapon movies, and I think he wrote the first two Predator films, or one of them.
He's phoning it in at this point. I'm gonna need him to stop.
It's time to stop.
Well, stop phoning it in.
I'll do it, and we'll talk about that. So on the next one,
it's like, I don't know if you partake in things to not make you sober, but if you do that while watching it.
Yeah,
I do. He does not.
Yeah, I 7 months ago today.
I don't do anything.
Oh, today?
Yeah.
Happy 7 months, sir.
Yeah.
I don't do anything either. I just hate myself enough to put myself through shitty movies.
It's just like a type of like self-flagellation.
I gotta punish myself somehow. So I'll watch this. 3 Billboards we need to watch because that looked really good.
Yeah.
That was a good recommendation. You can watch.
I'll watch Mother.
Watch
You don't
Teen Titans Go to the movies.
I recommend Mother just because it's so fucked up.
And Spider-Verse.
I'll watch Mother. I'll try to watch Spider-Verse.
So good.
I only ever go to the theater if I can watch movies back to back, and so far there hasn't been like a...
Oh, okay, you like the double feature?
I like the double feature, especially
Do you pay for the double feature?
At the NCG, like the ticket prices are so cheap, and you get infinite
Wait,
popcorn.
double feature or double penetration?
No, double feature. That's a different podcast. That's a Manic episode.
Okay, well, no, but...
NCG is great, though. The $10 for unlimited popcorn, and...
Yeah.
Do you go to the one that has the unlimited candy, too?
Which one is that one?
There's one in Norcross that has like infinite candy choices, and you just grab a bowl and you pay like $5 for a cup, and you can go grab whatever kind of candy you want.
Oh my God, no, but I want to.
The NCG is great. They have the big inflatable, or
And
not
they have-
inflatable,
and
the
they have the
recliner
Coca-Cola
seats.
Freestyle machine, so I can get cherry Sprite. I can get peach Sprite.
I believe it's called a Shirley Temple.
I mean, you can, but that's what I call it. But everybody just looks at me like they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, what the fuck's
Let me get a Roy Rogers.
Yeah, it's like Shirley Temples. Like, have vodka in it. It's like, no, it's just a cherry Sprite.
Right. I like
I
ordering
used to do
Shirley
that
Temples.
Steak and, yeah, you can only do that Steak and Shake because they're the only ones who are like, we got the '50s vibe, so we know that shit.
Right. Well, cool, man. I think that about wraps us up.
Yeah, I want to have you on for the next one if you're okay with that.
I can.
Because the way you talk about movies is really interesting, even if it's a terrible
This is why I've been
movie.
trying to get him on there for this. I knew
you
it.
described Predator and captured whatever the opposite of magic is.
Why don't we do like a segment Ryan Reacts
Chaos
where we
magic.
just like have short clips of Ryan explaining videos and like talking about movies that he doesn't like and having like just a rant with him.
Yeah, I think he should be on every episode of Stuvies. It's like, because, I mean, yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, weeks you can't make it. I mean, other people can do it, but
I'll call in. If I can't make it, I'll call in, put me on speakerphone, and I'll just say,
Yeah,
the worst
or-
movie I've seen lately.
Okay.
yeah. The way you
Definitely.
talk about the good and the bad movies is really interesting. So
The-
thank you for coming out.
Another recommendation, which is not movies related, but if anybody out there is listening, I highly suggest watching 90 Day Fiancé. Me and my girlfriend, we've been watching it, and it is trash. It is absolutely garbage. But it's that reality TV trash that is so interesting.
the fuck are you doing to me, Ryan?
Season 2, like it's like, okay, it's basically mail order bride type stuff, but it's
What
not.
is it?
Mail order bride
Oh, okay,
type
okay,
things
okay.
and husbands.
90
But
Day
it- but it-
Fiancé. Okay.
It's not. They're on fiance visas. And it's like they got 30 days or 90 days to decide if they want to get married or not to these people that they've either met before for a little bit, never met before, and it's just there's a lot of good times. And it's like you can tell instantly if like because like you can tell there's some people who are like, I'll go to America, maybe I can get a green card out of it. And there are those people. There are some who aren't. There are some lovely ladies that come over and actually genuinely try to start a relationship, and then there are others who have like all the dudes are fucking awful. All the dudes and like pretty much anybody who's native to the country they're filming it in are the worst fucking people in that country. Like there's this like dude in season 2 or 3, he's like 60 goddamn years old. He brought a 19-year-old Filipino girl over, and I was like, his actual daughter is 21. And you're just like, oh no.
I'm going to try to pull up a clip real quick.
Okay, so the next podcast we do is going to start out with like the beginning of Joshy, because you guys are going to walk in, and I'm going to have fucking killed myself over this shit.
Please keep watching 90 Day Fiancé so I have something to keep watching when I go to sleep.
I'm trying to see if there's any clips, but I'm looking up YouTube clips right now, and all it is like true life stories of where they are now. Like one of them like got abuse reports, and there's a domestic case.
I know
against one of
exactly.
them.
I know exactly which girl that is too, because you could tell she had crazy eyes. This dude was like 40 something. He was just like, I don't care anymore. I'm just tired of being alone. I was like, that's great. This woman was like, she's like, wow, I can't believe you went to work instead of hanging out with me today. And I was like, dude, fucking send her ass back.
H3 did H3 did a reaction video on it on 90 Day Fiancé, and I think that's where I have seen some of the stuff before.
It is
Can I have a
awful.
1 year subscription of not seeing that fucking show?
Do you want to watch a
Please?
clip right
No,
now?
I want a lifetime subscription of not. I'm gonna pour hot tea in
And
my
almost
eye.
every single girl that comes over, she's like, maybe I could be a model. I'm just like, oh no.
All right, we'll save this for later. We're not going to
Okay.
watch 90 Day Fiancé.
Yeah, we'll react to Lifetime and 90 Day Fiance. Okay, so the next episode, we're just gonna fucking torture ourselves. Is what we're gonna do. We're
Yes.
just
I'm gonna send
Yes.
you guys just awful shit to see.
Please save it. Put a Google Docs together of things you want to mention on there and bring up. I will take whatever it is you have to talk about. So.
I'll watch it. And try
You
and
don't have to watch everything. I'm just telling you to watch. Get a good gist. I would say everything after. I'm on season 4 or 5 right now.
Jesus God.
Well, I mean, there's only 10 episodes per season. And it's
That's
I mean,
10 too many, but
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, honestly, it is 10 too many because they keep bringing people in mid-season. I'm like, who the fuck is this person? I don't care about this person. Get me back to the Filipino girl and the old dude.
I just want to see someone be subjugated.
I've said that on certain websites, but
Oh, dude,
not.
the Mormon dudes are the weirdest because they're nice. They're like too fucking nice. It's
Right,
like,
right.
dude, it's like
Like you're gonna murder somebody.
yeah, it's like they're like too conservative or like their parents are fucking weird. And it's like, okay, dude, we get it. You're Mormon.
they're
but-
like homeschooled but professionally.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like they have that.
That's how Mormons are like professionally homeschooled.
It's like some of the guys, I swear, they're just like. you
Like,
just
when did
tell
I
there's-
become Mormon?
There's like very subtle autistic things that some of these guys do, and I'm just like, something's not right. With
it's a
this
whole religion of autistic people.
guy. Yeah, it's like
This is gonna piss off the Mormon audience.
something
what
is,
Mormon audience?
something is not good.
We need less of an audience.
We need less.
Oh, season one. Season one does have probably the most beautiful girl I have ever seen in my life. Her name was like Curlium or something like that, and fucking gorgeous. She looked like a goddamn Disney character.
Did you
Like
say
that-
her name was Cubic Zirconium?
Yes, but she's just fucking big green eyes and shit. I was like, this girl's adorable. Why is she with this fucking douche? She should stay in wherever she's from.
You should call her. Like,
Oh, she's married. She married that guy and got a kid.
oh, poor girl.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, girl, you heard the plot to the new Predator movie?
That's how you get them.
Papa Predator's here to play, y'all.
I'll be Papa Predator. You be Little Predator. All right, so submit your Big Predator, Little Predator roleplay porn to us, I guess.
Oh, is that what we,
Please.
is that what we
in the
do?
Please.
description.
Let's have some slash fic, you know. With
Ooh, snuff films.
I mean, you described the plot of one with the new fucking Predator movie.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
All right.
Cool.
So next time, yeah, we're just gonna hate ourselves. So stay tuned. We're gonna talk about how awful this is, and it's gonna be great.
Can't wait for you guys to experience it.
That's awesome. All right, man. Well,
I need to tinkle.
Joel Bailey here.
Stu.
Stuart.
Ryan.
Thank y'all so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. Cool.
My radio voice.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello, good evening, and welcome to another Stuvies.